Soldiers will train to compete in esports tournaments, take part in recruiting engagements, and interact with the public on a daily basis. The selected team members will be assigned to recruiting command at Fort Knox, Kentucky for 3 years. When not competing, they will train together, review tactics, and practice maneuvers, as well as maintain their PT and MOS certifications.
So the US Army in the entertainment industry, it's not exactly something new. When we talk about Hollywood, of course, if you want to make a big budget action film with the US military's involvement in the narrative, you really have to be on good terms with them. That's why, you know, films like Apocalypse Now, Platoon literally have to go to Asia and use the militaries of other countries to provide them with the equipment, because of course the US military are not going to sign up to films that show them doing awful things. Now, with the increasing involvement of video game technology in the army, it probably makes sense for them that the US Army are dabbling in video games even more. Of course, they have been involved in video games in the past, whether that is advising on things like Call of Duty or creating their own video game series centered around the US Army. And I've made a video about how Call of Duty as a series itself acts as US propaganda. So when you have video game series like this, you know, shooters that make war look exciting, make it look like it doesn't have any consequences, and when they also give a positive contemporary view of both the US Armed Forces, but also a positive view of their actions throughout history. I've talked about how the Black Ops games sanitize their involvement in the Cold War, with the worst offender being their sanitization of the CIA's role in the Vietnam War. But in the last year, they've taken this a step further with the US Army esports team. So what we're going to do in this video is talk about why it was set up, show some videos in their channel which is designed to get new recruits, talk about the recent controversy with them banning a load of people asking about US war crimes in the Twitch chat, and finally, I guess, give my summary and my opinion on why I think doing stuff like this is pretty immoral. Obviously not the worst thing the US Army has done, but obviously with an esports team, they're targeting children and young teenagers, and they're portraying a view of army life that does not fit the reality. So before we get further into the video, if you want to support my channel, please like the video, maybe subscribe, we're almost on 10k. Check out my Patreon in the description, and follow me on social media at the Kavernacle. So quickly with the origins of the esports team, so the independent reporting. At the end of the US Army's fiscal year, this past September 2019, the independent military source Army Times reported that the US Army had failed to meet its recruitment target by 7,500 bodies, despite offering up to $40,000 in bonuses, shorter enlistments, and student loan repayment. Now, of course, the US Army is extremely predatory in the essence that its recruitment exists to really prey on poor people by offering them a lot of benefits many developed countries have, but the US itself doesn't have. So that means they get more enlistment in the armed forces, and because minority populations are often disproportionately poor, minorities are disproportionately represented in the armed forces, and this mainly includes Black Americans, who in wars like Vietnam make up a disproportionate amount of the casualties. Vice also showing, as part of the new recruitment efforts, the US Army, Navy, and Air Force have all launched esports teams. Only the Marines said they wouldn't get into esports, and I actually respect the Marines' stance here, and they go on to say, this is due in part to the belief that the brand and issues associated with combat are too serious to be gamified in a responsible manner. Marine Corps Recruiting Command wrote in a document submitted to the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Services dated January 27th, 2020. Now, of course, the Marines have a reputation for being more hardcore, but it's not like what they have said there doesn't also apply to the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, because if you sign up for the US Army in the hopes of joining the esports team and you don't get in, well, there's a very likely chance you might be deployed overseas and you might have your life ruined by either committing some awful atrocities which will play on your mind forever, maybe getting your legs blown off by an IED, and just obviously feeling immense guilt for serving in one of the unjustifiable imperial wars the US often fights. So let's watch some of the US Army's propaganda around the esports team. So here is a video from their YouTube channel explaining what exactly it does and why they do it.
The United States military has had a strong presence in video games since the dawn of the medium, with appearances in genres from primitive arcade shooters to real-time strategy, first-person shooters, side-scrollers, and the occasional beat-em-ups. If you've ever served, you can attest to the popularity of video games in the military. Whether you've been on base stateside or sweating it out in Iraq, it was rare to see a barracks without a gaming console and 3 or 4 people huddled around with controllers in hand. It These soldiers will have to live stream their game sessions online, creating content that connects to the American population and the gaming community, showcasing what these elite gamers are doing on a daily basis.
So as you can see there, it's a pretty standard advert, I guess, for an esports team, but it's kind of weird. It's the US Army, and of course it's only open to active duty, it's only open to reservists, and I think I read somewhere they've also opened it to veterans. But essentially, if you want to play esports for a living, with all the great Army benefits, then you're going to have to join the Army, or like I said, the other ones like the US Navy or the Air Force. Now, why personally I don't value esports on the same level as real sports, as someone who plays real sports, I do recognise you have to be insanely talented. So I myself, I'm pretty good at Rocket League and I'm pretty good at Tetris. When I watch professionals play that game, it blows my mind. I'm like, how can you be that good? So I assume in a massive organisation like the US Army, many people already in it are very good at video games, and I assume the people who are already in the esports team are very good at video games. Maybe not as good as some of the other esports teams, because of course they have the benefit of recruiting from around the world, so it's a way more competitive sample of people. But again, your average Joe, your average gamer, someone like me, is not getting into that esports team. But we all know people who think they're amazing at video games. You all know an idiot who probably thinks, I'll join the US Army, I'll do basic, I'll do however long it is, 6 months, and then I'll apply for the esports team. So instead of going to fight in Iraq or Afghanistan or any of these other covert wars the US is fighting in places like, for example, Niger, which doesn't get much coverage, I'm gonna go around the country, I'm gonna sit at the base, and I'm just gonna play Call of Duty competitively, and I'm gonna get paid a full salary, and again, I'm gonna get all these benefits, and it will be great. So of course, because esports is primarily watched by young people, maybe a lot of them will feel this way when they see something they think is cool, and like, you can do that as a job through the US Army. So not only will you get a rank, which might impress your friends who love things like Call of Duty, but you'll have an official rank in the US Army while playing video games. So that's the immoral part here. There's been a lot of debate in the UK about us having recruiters in school because we're the only EU nation where you can join the military at 16 years old. But I don't think this is really any different. It's just, I guess, less intrusive because they're not physically going into a school. But again, in their heads, they are targeting the young people, just like the recruiters who do go into schools. So on their YouTube channel, they also have some player profiles. And here you get to see some nice, real, normal people who just love playing video games for the US Army. It kind of even seems like they're not actually in the Army. They might have just joined as random people. So here's just a quick sample of 2 profiles they put on their YouTube channel.
Specialist Win Fam, Gamertag, Ho Lazies. I come from a first generation, and I'm Vietnamese. I wanted to join the Army to travel, and also just the financial benefits of what the Army gives me. I've been playing Apex Legends. I enjoy the game because all the unique abilities and how much teamwork you need to be able to play that game. And I've also been playing Valorant on my off time. I've never had any CSGO experience, but you know, it's definitely fun to me and I'm just trying to learn. What I love about the US Army Esports is building the cohesion throughout all the individuals with different backgrounds, just like-minded people, just enjoying the same thing I do.
USA Haitian King from Sumter, South Carolina. Grew up there for about a good 19 years. I'm an FGC player. I play Street Fighter V MK11. I play Tekken 7, but I've been on that MK a lot lately. I played Dragon Ball Fighters as well. Gaming since I was 3 years old. Started with the Super Nintendo. It's one of my favorite original systems. Being in the military, and it was just different. Like I just met so many different people from around the world and had to work with different people from different countries. I grew up in the hood, man. Like that's what I grew up in. I grew up in the hood, but I always felt out of place. I always felt different. I definitely did not act like everyone else. I already knew I was different. I was a gaming nerd. I was a kid that liked anime. And I mean, there was other people that liked that too. They grew up with the same thing. But like me, I just felt out of place and different. That's why I joined the military too, because I didn't want to stay trapped in that kind of lifestyle and be around those same people.
So the second guy there said he played Super Nintendo, so he probably is about my age, maybe a bit older, and he's also a sergeant. What it doesn't reveal in these videos is their combat record. Do we know if they fought in other places? Do we know if they have fought in controversial wars? Of course, it doesn't go into their actual service records. It just frames it as, here are 2 guys who loved video games growing up, and they joined the army to play them, and you can do this too. The second one talks about, you know, coming from the hood, and he also talks about not being like other people playing video games and watching anime, and on the surface that's fine, but of course why the US Army might like him saying something like that is that it appeals to more introverted people who might feel isolated at school, who might feel isolated in their communities. So when he says something like this, like, I'm just like him, I'll join the US Army and find my purpose, doing propaganda for them by playing in their esports team. Now, by some of the things I've been saying, you think the internet would also agree with me and start trolling the US Army's esports team, and that's exactly what they have done. So there's been various challenges of people to see how quickly they can get banned from the Discord and the Twitch chat by asking about the war crimes perpetrated by the US Army. So let's first watch the Twitch stream one.
Which, by the way, I think every post that I do from now on is going to say ooh in it, just to flex.
I like it.
Y'all going to go talk all that crap to my angel on the esports team, the nicest person in the entire world. You little internet keyboard monster. That's what you are.
You little gremlin.
You little gremlins, I swear. But no, I won't stand for that. I'm bigger than you.
Enemy soldier incoming. Your
Joey,
primary
why?
objective
Why?
is to
Why?
kill them all.
Get out of my building. Someone just ran into the room.
I'm shot.
Wait, back door or front door?
Yeah, back door.
Oh, the guy I just killed.
Got him.
Oh, yes. Thank you for giving me an even worse gun. Thank you.
Dirt for sale. What's up, man?
Oh, cool. Nice. Really chill guy. Have a nice time getting banned, my dude.
So there you see one of the Twitch streamers banning someone for posting links to US war crimes in the chat and also asking them what is his favourite war crime. So like I said before, it became a challenge. So here's someone posting, the new Modern Warfare map is amazing. Google Abu Ghraib, of course, for infamous prison in Iraq, operated by the US Army, so he gets banned pretty quick. So the next one writes, hey guys, just got an ultra kill on a bunch of Iranian children. How about you guys? And of course he gets banned straight away. And of course, many people started doing this to the point where they actually started shutting down their Discord chat. Of course, I approve of the trolling. While on the surface, the US Army's esports team and Twitch channels might seem harmless, like I said, it does target children. I actually saw a comment in one of those chats saying, I want to be like this sort of pilot when I grow up and everything. And yeah, in America especially, but not exclusively, you were brainwashed from a young age to think the military is great. Think of, you know, the stand for the flag and all this stuff about disrespecting our troops by Colin Kaepernick. And all this ridiculous garbage, and you're fed all this propaganda through things like movies. People like Clint Eastwood are pretty guilty of this with films like American Sniper, but that's not the only film that often sanitizes the worst of the US Army's actions in modern years. And what the US Army have seen is that because younger people are spending more time on video games, online, watching esports, it's just somewhere else they can recruit and prey on people to sign them up for immoral service with the promise that they will be paid an army salary with army benefits just to play video games. Of course, that esports team looks pretty exclusive, so for the most part, you are not getting in. And like I touched on earlier, when you're a kid and you know, like me, and you're growing up with Call of Duty, which is very American-centric, which focuses on the US, doesn't really show them in a bad light. You play through these historic conflicts. You play through conflicts that look like many of our contemporary conflicts. So the original Modern Warfare came out in 2007. You're fighting in a Middle East that looks very familiar if you're keeping up with the news. And of course, psychologically, even if you think it's not doing that, it does desensitize you to the realities of war, and that's just a fact. So seeing actual soldiers play this game for their job in the US Army, I guess, would warp your perception of what the military actually does and what job you could find there. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe. We're nearly on 10K and I'm super excited to hit that milestone. If you're on social media, please follow me on Twitter. That is the main one, so at the Kavernacle, but also Facebook and Instagram. Reddit is another big one for me, so my subreddit is r/theKavernacle. My personal Reddit is u/TommyKayo1995. Feel free to message me on any social media platforms. Check out my Patreon and my WordPress in the description, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.